Hello everyone and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing with you guys an awesome 10+0 rapid game which I played just a few days ago against a 2058 rated opponent. Now, I really wanted to share this game with you guys because of the fact that it had brilliant rook sacrifices, double fianchetto bishops, and just overall a super cool game which I'm sure you guys will absolutely enjoy. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the game. As you guys can see, I'm playing with the white pieces and I decided to play the awesome c4, the English opening. Now, as you guys probably know, black has so many different moves and setups to their disposal against the English because of how flexible it is. But in this game, our opponent decides to play the lovely move knight c6. Some ideas of knight c6 could be the moves such as e5, e6, maybe g6, and many other things. Perhaps even f5 in the future, which you are going to see becomes very important. After this, I simply go with the most common move, knight c3, just like so. And remember when I mentioned the move f5 earlier? Well, it turns out our opponent plays the 10th most common move and plays the move f5, just like so. Veering more towards a Dutch defense system, just like that. But now I decide to play the move g3, which is pretty common in the English. It is trying to get this bishop onto g2 and perhaps get the knight either to f3 or to e2 later, just like so, which you guys are going to see is going to become a key factor in this game. Now, our opponent decides to play the move e5 and grab some central space, and I continue with my fianchettoing idea with the move bishop g2 like so. Now, black of course plays a very lovely move, knight f6, keeping everything simple and developing just as they should. Now, remember, our opponent has played the move e5, so it wouldn't really make much sense to play this move knight f3, because it could simply be attacked with the move e4 just like so. So a very common idea in the English is to instead play the move e3, just like this, to then play knight e2 in the future, so then it can't be attacked by the pawn just like this. So what I do is I play the move e3, which is very multi-purpose, because in the future it can also perhaps support d4, just like so, which you guys are also going to see be played in the next few moves. Now, our opponent decides to play the move d6. He does kind of block in his dark squared bishop, but then again it supports e5 and also opens up his light squared bishop, so can't be viewed as a very terrible move either. And as we continue our plan with the move knight ge2 just like so, our opponent decides to play the move bishop e7 just like this. Now, I do have a few options here, such as castling or even playing the move d4, but what I decide to do is remember what I said in the intro about a double fianchetto, b3. I decide to play the move b3 with a very simple idea. Bishop b2, get a lovely double fianchetto and make these bishops as active as possible. A lovely idea in the English. Our opponent plays a lovely move and castles just like this, and well, we simply just continue our plan with the lovely move bishop b2 just like so. Now, I don't know why my opponent played this move, but I'm guessing it was just a waiting move to see what he thought I was going to decide to do later on, but he simply played the move king h8 just like this, which isn't actually the best move. And of course, I just decided to castle my king, being lovely and safe, and perhaps also just getting my rook onto the f-file, perhaps later trying to play the move f4, but really just trying to get it into the center, and also just mainly get my king safe just like so. Now, my opponent decides to play the move knight b4 just like so, and I finally play the lovely move d4. Remember what we said earlier, the move d4 supported by the pawn on e3 with our knight on e2 just like so. Our plan out of the opening has been completed just like this on move 10 of the chess game. And it is safe to say that so far we have played pretty nicely. Now, our opponent has a few options in this position. Simply play another move rather than moving the pawn and keep the tension, or take the pawn or push the pawn just like so. Our opponent had a little think and decided to push the pawn with the move e4. Now, this does do a few nice things. First of all, it completely shuts down this bishop on g2, and it also might create a strong knight outpost in the future with the move knight d3, which you guys are going to see very, very soon. But now I spot that the f4 square looks quite nice for my knight, and so I just stick it there just like this. And my two ideas when I played the move knight f4 were, well, if black doesn't attack me with their g-pawn, then my knight can kind of stay on f4 for eternity, and that is really nice because it controls so many important squares in the black position just like so. And not only that, it also controls the really important d3 square because it stops the black knight on b4 from ever coming to d3, because if it does try to, well, we simply trade it off, win a pawn, and then also open up our bishop just like so. So this knight is really good. But if black does attack our knight on the f4 square with the move g5, then as you guys can see by the bishop on b2 and the arrow to the king on h8, well, it could be severely weakening black's position, which you guys are going to see is definitely the case, and it becomes really, really dangerous, but for me, very, very fun. So here, my main priority is to save my knight, and so I do so by playing the move knight d5, just like so, getting it out of danger and trying to trade off both knights, just like so. Our opponent captures with the f knight, and I simply capture back with my c knight, just like so. And of course, I would quite like black to probably take this, because if they do, then I get some nice control over these c6 and e6 squares, just like so. But what our opponent decides to do instead is play the move knight d3, just like this. Now, my idea was to play the move bishop a3, and the reason I did this was first of all to get my bishop out of danger from the knight on d3, of course, but also to perhaps also trade off knights with the move knight b4 in the future, as of course the bishop on a3 would simply support it on b4, and perhaps in the future this could happen as well, trying to get rid of this very strong knight on the d3 square. But no, our opponent actually plays the first big mistake in the game with the move c5. Now, you guys might remember what I said about the move g5 and how it might end up weakening the king in the future. Put that together with the fact that I double fianchettoed just like so, and you'll see how quickly this position descends into pure brilliant chaos. First of all, I trade on c5, ripping apart the a1 to h8 diagonal, just like so. It isn't very common in chess that you just see a full diagonal across the whole board just being opened up, which is also another reason why I just think that this game is so cool. And here, black just simply takes back, just like this. Now, the best move in this position is to play the move f3 and try to undermine black's pawn structure just like so, to perhaps win a weak knight on the d3 square in the future, because it is actually, according to the computer, a +3 position here for white. But I do make a little bit of a mistake and play the move queen h5, bringing my queen forward into the black position just like so. By no means is this a losing move, but it just wasn't the best move which the computer wanted. But then again, I am a human and I will play certain moves that the computer just doesn't prefer. My idea with the move queen h5 was obviously to clear the square for one of my rooks to come to the d file, sacrifice the rook for the knight on the d3 square, which would then consequentially open up my beautiful light square bishop for the whole diagonal, just like this bishop had been opened up earlier. And also, I thought that this light square bishop would pair very nicely with the dark square bishop, which could then come to b2 and pester the king, because once the knight is gone, well, who's attacking b2, if you guys see what I mean? And here, black decides to play the move b6, which actually is a losing mistake, because now we can carry out our beautiful plan, which I just explained to you guys. The move rook to d1, just like this. But now, anything that black tries to do is too late. It is simply +4 for white, and I'm going to show you how I executed the end of this match. White played the move bishop b7, fianchettoing the bishop of their own, and here comes the brilliant rook takes d3, sacrificing a full rook for a knight on the d3 square. Our opponent, of course, captures back, and now we play the lovely bishop b2 check, because now there is no knight to attack the bishop on b2, so why shouldn't it come to b2, if you guys see what I mean? And here it is just totally attacking and pestering the king on the h8 square. Absolutely brilliant stuff here, and it comes into play so beautifully. Our opponent's only real best move here is to play the move king g8, and after this we play the lovely knight takes e7, carry out our plan all along by opening up our beautiful light squared bishop. Black's best move is to simply capture back the knight on e7, of course, simply just capturing the knight, and here we capture the bishop on b7, because this whole diagonal had been opened up. And so had this one. I mean, this game was just totally crazy, and this is why I simply wanted to share it with you guys. Now, if the move rook to b8 and simply defended itself, well, it would have been mate in 4 with bishop d5 check, rook f7, queen h6, a totally subtle move, and then black's best move is queen f8, and here we have queen takes g5, queen g7, and queen takes g7 checkmate. Absolutely brutal stuff, because the black rook on f7 can't take back due to the pin. But this is not what happened in the game, because after bishop takes b7, our opponent simply captured back with the queen. And what I calculated after this was we had queen takes g5, king f7, and after this we can simply seal the deal with queen g7, not checkmate, but our opponent did resign in this position because of course once the king moves to any of these squares, well, we're simply just going to capture the queen on b7 and simply be up a queen just like so. An absolutely phenomenal game which I'm so glad that I shared with you guys. If you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful, don't forget to smash those like and subscribe buttons. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. I'll leave links to the Twitch stream, Chess team, and Discord server in the description. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Have a great day and enjoy chess. Goodbye.